almost forgot. All right. Good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Thought I could get a little bit of time in here to work on some of my stuff. I saw on the Facebook group, I've seen a couple of times where people are wondering how to base these old school miniatures on the new plastic bases. And I've seen guys do it, a lot of guys better than me, of course. Um, in our group, Old School Miniatures on Facebook, they do a wonderful job. And I've done this a few times already, and so I thought I should let you guys see how I do it. This is not the one only way to do it. This is a way to do it. You can do it different ways, but you'll get the general idea here. Already, I see that I need to maybe prep the space a little bit. I use this tray and for me here to catch some of the dirt that I'm about to take out to base these guys, because I kind of like my skeletons on a sandy or messed up terrain. I don't like them on nice clean beautiful grass or anything like that, or I'd like it to be like a dry or decayed terrain. And since these guys are the old grenadier skeletons, here you'll see, let's see, yeah, that let's see, boom, interesting. You'll see that these paint jobs are not as great as some of my other paint jobs, but they're as pretty great to me because these are my original minis from when I was a kid that I painted back in the 80s, early 80s, when looking at the underside of the base for these guys, the dates, the oldest date is 1980. These all came in a box set with a mounted skeletal rider, which I have put away, and he's going to be another project because he needs to be repaired. And the king, which became unglued, and will probably get new paint and a repair work as well. So, but in the meantime, I can fix the king's minions and they can ready the way for the mounted knight, right? And particularly the bases that I use are 22mm bases, because the main game that I play, which I haven't played much of any, well, that's not true, but I have played a couple weeks ago, is Dungeons and Dragons. So I like 22mm bases because I like them to fit in my 1-inch squares on the map. If I do end up using them for Mordheim, which I will, these are also good. I know that usually they use square bases in Mordheim, but whatever I do to these guys today will apply to Mordheim. I mean, to square or round bases. Shape of the base doesn't matter. The idea is how to base these. So what I've done off camera previous to this, and you might have seen the photograph in our group at Old School Miniatures, is that I've super glued my old minis right onto these bases. And then what I do from there, usually I don't have them painted when I do this. I usually put all the stuff on the base, the material, whatever, flocking, not flocking, but if it's rubble or dirt. And here I got some baking soda, and here I got some sand from the playground across the street, and this will last me forever. I just started doing this where I put my flocking in a shaker. I haven't used it yet. I'm curious to see how that works, but as soon as I get another one of these empty from the kitchen, I will probably throw some baking soda and sand in there to make what I'm going to do now a little easier. So one of the things I'm going to do, you guys, if you've seen any of my videos, you'll see this is my I call my crazy brush. I use it for this one does all the dirty deeds for me. And one thing I do want to do is get a little cap for some mixing that I want to do with my Elmer's glue. And it's funny because I usually have a million of these caps lying around, but looks like today it never fails. I always mess something up. Oh, here we go. I do have a cap. Just this little thing here, just and I've never really previous to this had to shake Elmer's glue, but this one sits for so long that I feel like it separates. So I kind of want to get the right mix when I pour this into here. See, it's not as white as I would imagine, but it always works, so not too worried about it. And I have some clean water. Doesn't matter if it's clean or not. And what I do usually, I mean, I have another way that I was thinking about doing today where I could just apply some of this green stuff around the edges of this thing and mold it, but I'm not going to go that route today. I'm going to do what I've done before. So I usually just take this crazy brush, load it up with glue. Sometimes I put water on it, depending on how thick I want it to be. And I'll start applying the glue in the areas that I know I want my basing material to stick to. So in this case, what I like about this glue is that I will use this Elmer's glue to stick the sand and baking powder to it, and then I'll build it up again later. So like I said, and then just doing this guy, I might get a different idea now that I see how much work I see ahead of me as far as building up that surface. You know, and I just changed my idea right now while we're talking. But the whole point is to just build up the base up to match. And some guys don't. Some guys just realize this is not the only way to do this. This is a way. And so depending on how meticulous you want to get with it, you can add more and more material. So what I'm seeing here is that I think I do want to build it up a little bit. And in order to do that, I'm going to need some putty. You could use Milliput, which is probably what's recommended. It's better than what I've got. I don't have any Milliput with me right now. This is a little more expensive, but its Talos is to be used, and I will use it today for this. Alright? And I'll be fine. If I ever need any more for other stuff, well, then I'll just get some more. So, if you're not familiar with this, this is green stuff, two-part epoxy. You mix yellow and blues together. I usually cut it off. Whoa, let's try not to hurt the 40-year-old minis. Cut about the equivalent piece off from both colors. Alright, there's that guy. And maybe a little here like this. That guy. And then you just knead them together. So these old minis that you see here, like I said, I painted them back in the 80s, early 80s. I started playing D&D when I was 8. I think we started ordering minis in mail order catalog shortly thereafter. Let's see, it would have been, if I was 8, we started playing mini Dungeons and Dragons when It would have been in 1979 when we played it. It had the red box basic set. And then shortly after that, we started getting minis. We got into this game called Battle System. It's a war game that they had back then from TSR. I'm not gonna. I know what I want to do is just kind of build up the edges around this thing, so I could probably get away. By the way, you can see it's turned green from my kneading the two yellow and blue parts together. And in order to make, you can also wet this, and it makes it easier to. It doesn't stick so much to your hands. But then I'm gonna make it into a rope or a long piece like this, which is going to allow me to lay it around the base of the areas on that I want to build up, and then I can form it that way. So I'm not going to need, for example, on the archer here, this crossbowman. So, uh-oh, I dropped it. Where did he go? Dropped it and it's gone. Oh yeah. And that's how you know we're live, guys. Let's see. Did you guys see where it went? Because I totally lost it. Alright, well, moving right along. What I was saying was, see, this particular guy doesn't fit on the base, but again, because it's D&D and I like to keep him in a square, I didn't want to put him on a base for a mounted figure, which is 1 inch by 2 inch, because at the end of the day, this is a single person or monster that's regular size, fits on a 1 inch. So I'm gonna probably play with how this base interfaces with the actual base of the mini. Spread it out a little bit, maybe like this. Just build it out, but keep it so that it something like that. Not too complicated in this instance for me, anyways. Just to make it look a little better, make it look like it was intentional, right? Sometimes if you spend also in architecture and art, which is a little bit of what I do on a day job, try to hide something, a mistake, or not even a mistake, a detail that you don't want people to see, you actually end up accentuating it. And in this case, I think if I, excuse me, if I, excuse me, oh my gosh, pardon me. You know what I didn't get was paper towels. That's why I got an apron, right? So, instead of trying to hide a detail that you might think is not something pleasing or something that you want people to look at or notice, sometimes you end up accentuating it and people notice it right away, as opposed to just working it into the design. Then it looks like it belongs there and nobody really notices, right? And that's kind of what I'm doing with this guy. So as you can see, my decision to go away from Elmer's for the moment and build up the base to the plastic base to align with the original metal base of the Mini begins to take shape, right? A little bit of sculpting with my nail there, kind of trim that, make both sides look the same. I'll do the same here, right? I still want it a little tapered here, so I'm going to just work with that. Bring it in like this. I want to taper, or not taper, feather out the interface between the metal base and the epoxy, the green stuff. So, and I think that's going to do it here, because once I start putting my sand on it and stuff, I'll be able to get rid of a little bit of this, any of these defects. That really won't be defects, because we're talking about molding sand and dirt, right? So that's this guy, which probably was going to be the hardest one. And now I've got to get more green stuff, because I dropped a piece that disappeared into probably wherever socks goes. It went to the same place that socks go to, probably. So I'm going to get another piece of epoxy, a little bit of blue, get another little bit. Did I take this off? I did. Get me a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to knead these together. I even will include this other green piece and just, again, just knead them together. Get them nice and green. Right, look at that. And while I'm putting that together, I will use my other hand to run a real quick operation here on the PC. So forgive me a second. Alright. And that boy you hear in the background is my son playing video games with my nephew and his friends, which is cool. There we go. And look, it's green. By the time I finish my operation, this is green. So I'll do the same thing again. I'll set this guy aside. Do the same thing again. I'm going to roll this out into a long rope, right? Because it'll be easier for me to lay this rope around the base of each of these miniatures and taper that to the plastic base. And again, this is not, whoop, lost a piece. This is not the only way to do this. This is just one of the ways to do this. This is what I've done. I'm doing this way this time, maybe because I want you to see quickly about this instead of taking a bunch of videos to build it up, because usually I build it up with dirt and sand and glue, but it looks like this is just the most efficient way to get the build up that I want for these guys. So I got a little bit of extra here. I just take that right off. And again, just work this space like so. This one's not going to need that much. I probably have to get some of this material off. I don't want to get it on the actual mini, just around the base. And I'm not going to repaint these guys. I want to retain the memory of what they are and when they are from. And they're good enough for tabletop, that's for sure. And the fact that they've gotten old and faded in some cases, I mean, I might touch up something, I don't know, I keep thinking I might, but I'm not going to redo them, that's for sure. Alright, so I'm going to wet my fingers a little bit so it doesn't stick to me so much. And in this case, I don't care that I see a little bit of my fingerprints in the green stuff, because I'm going to cover all this with my basing material once it's dry. So what I will do is I'll get my X-Acto knife, which is not there. Where do we go? There we go. Right here. And we're just going to go like this. I want to just, there we go. I like to keep the integrity of the base whenever I can. Of course, the exception was the first MIDI, where I purposely went past the boundaries of that base. Alright, and all this material can be used on the next one. There we go. Let me get my finger wet a little bit. In this case, these minis were painted back in the 80s. I used oil-based paints back then. And I don't have to worry about water messing up the miniature or the paint, what's left of the paint, right? And so I don't have to be too worried about wetting the mini. Take a quick look, scrape this off here and here. Maybe I want to use this to flatten this a little bit. And like I said, this is going to get all covered with dirt and sand, ideally anyways, and put him in his arid, maybe semi-chaotic or dirty environment. Use that blade to scrape this off here. Alright, and that's 2 down. And a few more to go. So we've got some time with this green stuff before it gets hard. We can work it again to that long rope. What I did learn from that last one was that I don't need it to be so thick. So I can drop some material and go ahead and do this like that. And we come around the next one. Lay that down like that. I just wet my finger a little bit. It's okay, because I can just get this guy here like this. And that's it. I'll be able to taper this down to the base. See, look at that. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. And sometimes it'll be, you can add and take away material as you like. You might notice here I've got some high points on the metallic base that are going to show through what I've added. Let me see if I can get it to the camera for you. So let me do that. So you'll see here where again I've tapered, using the green stuff, tapered the metal down to the plastic. And that's all I want. I just want it to be it'll look like they're all standing on mounds, and that's fine for me and for what I'm doing. I mean, you can, if you want to make it a full base like this one ended up being because of this proximity to the outer portion of the base, you can. It's whatever you want. There's no rules here. Speaking of no rules, you know, it doesn't have to be green stuff. Like I said, milliput, gray milliput, which is cheaper and probably better to work with in this instance, is just as good, if not better. This is what I had, and if I didn't have this, like I said, I'd use Elmer's glue and build it up. I'd probably make a paste out of Elmer glue and baking soda and build it up to the height that I want around the existing metal base. So, and just so you can get an idea, these guys used to be mounted on these cardboard uh, that we cut out as kids on a guillotine. It is an inch square, fits right on the inch square for D&D. But I'm going with round. And inch square, I remember now, we use not only because of D&D inch square TSR, but also in battle system is when we started playing that and collecting these guys to play battle system and have giant wars with these minis. They that game was more rank and flank, where the units were together in a rank and file and in formations, and you would move them around the board in that way. We used to play on the floor because we were young and could do that. I don't know if I could play on the floor today. I mean, I could, but it'd be uncomfortable for me. But they would move out in formations, and when your unit would take damage, you'd probably lose one mini or two, depending on what kind of damage and how much it was. And that's how that worked. The cool thing nowadays is even with a round base, you can get templates where your round-based figures can fit in a template that holds them in formation if you're still playing rank and flank. And so you have that luxury of using that miniature in multiple games. I mean, theoretically, I could either 3D print or get a CNC and make a seat for this to go on a 32 millimeter base if I wanted to, if that was what the game I was playing called for, right? And still have the luxury of taking them out of that unit or that 32-inch ring in order to go back and use this skeleton in D&D for my 1-inch maps, right? So this will be interesting here, how that is. I can move that out this way. I can move that out this way. I can maybe add a little bit here, just because. There you go. And so, just like that, it's not so, the transition now between the plastic base and the metal miniature base is not so obvious. It's still obvious here because it's raw putty on those two bases, but once we finish the base, it's going to look pretty good. I don't have an example here for you, but I think it will. And we've got what do we got? 4 down and 3 to go. This is going pretty well if you ask me. All right. We have, let's do it again. Get the diameter I want on this rope of green stuff. I think I can put the point here and pull it along the side. go. So now, again, same thing. And I know it's the same thing over and over again that you're seeing, but we're almost done. We'll get to the next step in a minute. And if you're watching this after the live cast, then you can fast forward and see the next part of this. If I recall correctly though, these green stuff takes a few hours to really cure. I believe it's not, dry is not the proper word is cure. So that it is dry through and through. And you want it to be that way. Right? Here's a spot for me, but I need to get my knife back. Funny, that happened to me cutting bread, not hobbying, interestingly enough. So we're going to take this and just keep my base within my 22 millimeters, right? And this came off of my finger and onto here, but I'll scrape it off here. There you go. Let's see if I can. There you go. Nice. All right. There you go. Push that down. It's sticking to my finger a little bit, so I'm going to do that. Push them aside, and we're going to move on to the next one. There's two left. I think I might have some extra material, which is fine. This is the one I had put glue on earlier. The glue looks like it's almost dry. And I'm not even going to bother cleaning that glue up. I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. Yeah, my son is noisy as heck playing. Probably playing 2K. He's way more emotional than I am with video games. So, that's what can I tell you? I used to play a lot of video games. Don't play much of it anymore. I spend my time mostly riding bicycle or doing this. Or chores. What can I tell you? Maybe when I retire I'll replace work with video games. Who knows? Who knows if that'll even be an option, right? But yeah. So maybe I don't take this one all the way out to the end, which will allow me to make some landscaping changes here maybe when I go put it on. This is a small 22 millimeter base, so I think I've only went over the border here, and I'll just cut that off like that. And then we've got one last guy. This is actually one of my favorite guys, and that's when he was new. This is the one I might touch up because the gold paint, this gold enamel paint, has worn off over the years. And I kind of think that these guys, with the wear and tear that they've got now, actually look even maybe a little better. Just adds to the rustic features of these undead warriors. But when that gold is fresh, those red eyes, or the glossy red tester's paint is sticking out of the red eyes of that octopus shield. It looks so good back then. And the thing is that I remember it, and I see this guy, and I see it anyways, because, you know, for me, it's very nostalgic to see these little guys. I mean, I have to resist the urge to weather, to put some shade on this shield, because I know that it'll look way better if I did that, and I still might. It's not late. It's not too late yet, but I'm not looking to. I want to kind of, like I said, keep my original paint job from way back when. Besides, I have plenty of unpainted miniatures that I need to get done, and it's already enough that, if you've seen in my other live cast, that was the last one, I think, I had to drop one of my knights, my mounted knights, into some pine sol. Just get them stripped, and I'm gonna have to repaint him just to refurbish him, because he had a broken lance, and I think that, and I had made all this barding for him when I was a kid, and that's kind of funky. Hey, son, could you be a little louder? Thanks. So then, where was I? Yeah, so there's already another mini that I had not. Well, that's not true. I planned on fixing him, but not painting him. But I'm gonna end up painting him, which I'm not too. I'm not unhappy about. I'm gonna enjoy it because it's a medieval. I'll show you now. Oh, I don't know. We'll take a look at him at the end of this part. So here we go. We got, what is it? 2, 4, 6, 7 guys in 37 minutes prepped for basing with material. I will be painting the bases because it's a sand base, and obviously this is not sand color, and I don't want them in the snow. Although that's a good idea, but no. I want them to match kind of. I have another set of Ralpartha skeletons, which you probably see in the banner for the channel, and I've got them on a dirty, messed up basis. I don't, and it's the same process I went through with them. I did the same thing. I build up this 22 millimeter bases. Let me see if you can see here. I will switch cameras for you in a minute as I hold these up. As I find my mouse. There you go. And this might be a little easier for you to see. Some light there. And these are my Pre-Slotta Grenadier. Oh, I can see the camera's not behaving. Pre-Slotta Grenadier skeletal warriors mounted on plastic 22 millimeter plastic bases that I've built up around the base now, and so now I just need to dress that up and they'll be ready for battle. And yeah, so I promised we'd take a look at the night before I shut down for this video. I want to let this dry, so there's going to be another video after this where I apply the stuff, and then I'll have to let that dry because this stuff takes a while to dry, and then the last video will be painting it. So a little bit of a project, but I like it. So here is, let's switch back to the other camera. Alright, and over here I think I can, there you go, autofocus. Let's move this guy over. Let's take a look at what we got in here. I can put away my X-Acto knife. Ooh, the fresh pine sol scent is a bonus for dropping your guy in here. So let's take a look. Again, this guy was also painted with enamel. And I used pine sol because I had run out of green, simple green. Yeah, looks like it works. Look at that. Paint's coming right off. Oh, came off right on my finger. The shield came right off. Look at that. He's only been there for maybe, what, 2 days? This This is probably some of the best paint stripping that's happened. We'll see what the horse looks like. Let me grab a paper towel real quick. I hadn't planned on doing this, but he's so ready to go that we might as well. I'm gonna put him here and just, oh, that's not good. That's what I get. I should probably cover that up with a Band-Aid. Oh, well there you go. That's always a good sound to hear in a video. That's how you know that this is just one guy hobbying at home for fun. Kind of want to wash them. See if I can kind of rinse them a little bit here or here. Right. Reminds me, where is that? Yeah, we're good. Are we? Right there. You could probably move this a little bit. Yeah, probably works a lot better, right? Yeah, it does. The yellow seems to be pretty sticky, but this metal has not seen the light of day in over 30 years. I am not sure what manufacturer this guy's from. I don't know if he is a Ralpartha or not. I know his mount is a Ralpartha, 1979. There we go. Get the suds going, right? Look at that. Oh, his shoulder. How did I miss that? And this right here is why I wear an apron. Because now I don't have to worry about this junk coming off of my shirt. It's all about protection, guys. So there's a little bit here. It doesn't want to come off underneath him. I think I can work with that. I might even just drop him right back in the pine sol again, because I can. And then we'll check out Mr. Horsey here. And something tells me that paint's going to come right off. Watch this. Look at that. Look at that. It slid right off. I could tell by the way it looked. So this is the same model horse that I used on my Archer in the previous video. You can see that on YouTube. And he came out pretty good. I will not paint him the same color, obviously. And also I had made Barding for a night. That's why I don't think this horse came for that night. But I dressed him up to look like a horse that a knight would ride. And I kept those pieces because I'll be messing with those later. This is super glue. It's got paint in it. Let's see. And the base, of course. See that? So clean under there. Well, this oil-based paint, I'm sure, sealed this metal all these years. The only thing is I didn't paint the bottom. As you can see, the bottom here, Ralpartha, 1979. You see that? Let me see if I... There you go. Real Partha 1979. I don't know if I can get this. This is super glue. It's not really that important because it will be covered by the mount by the night again. But if I can get it off, I will. Oh, that's weird. Yeah. So pine sol doesn't do anything to super glue from what I can gather here. Or maybe not. It wasn't chipping off that easy before. So that's cool. And then if I don't want to use a knife, I can use these tiny, I have these tiny screwdrivers I use for this purpose. I have poked myself in the thumb with these before, so you want to use them so that they face away from you when you're trying to chip stuff off like this. Alright. Oh, look at that. That's great. Came right off. So the pine sol did something to super glue because it popped off. And again, it's not too big of a deal. And this particular, I see I scratched some of the metal here because this will get covered by the knigget or the knight, whichever way you want to say it. And see, the yellow seems to be the strongest paint. Hard to get the paint off his privates here. Let's see. And the tail. I dip them in some water. The inside of that back leg. Let's see. So it's a really good what's come off, but I think there's a little ways to go. So I'm going to drop him back into the pine sol again. Let him sit for a couple of days. I'm not in a hurry anyways. I can work on my skeletons while this guy bathes in pine sol, and I'll be okay with that. And I can clean my toothbrush here. Get that chunk off of it. And I think that well, that's it for this evening. Just moved our projects a little further along. We'll get the skellies back here again for one last look. All right. Pretty neat. We'll get you that other view. If I can move it right. There you go. Again, you see I built it up with green stuff, and then it's ready for me. Once it dries, I'll use my Elmer's glue to paint the base with Elmer's glue. Actually, before I even do that, I'll paint this base, whatever base color I want to use for. Actually, I'm thinking, yeah, because I don't want the green to come through my sand and stuff. So even though I'm going to paint my sand. So yeah, we'll see. But it's ready to go. Just let it dry, and these guys will be rocking on their new bases. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you like it. I hope it helps you. I know there's a couple of guys asking about this in our Old School Minis group on Facebook. Look them up. You can see this video on Flico Paints on YouTube. And let me know if you like it. You have a good one. And